All right, if you're prepping for that AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, you've probably run into these two, right? CloudWatch and CloudTrail. They sound so similar and they always seem to trip people up. Well, not anymore. Today, we're going to make the difference between them absolutely crystal clear, so you can just walk in and nail those tricky exam questions.
So let's paint a picture here. Imagine it's 3 a.m., your pager goes off, and your application is totally down. What's the first thing you think? Is it a system failure? Is a server just completely overloaded? Or did somebody push some bad code, a human error? Answering that question is exactly what these two services are designed to do.
Okay, so here's our game plan for cracking this case. We'll kick things off with our little cloud mystery, then we'll meet our two special investigators. We'll compare them head-to-head, super important for your exam, see how they team up, and then of course, hit you with the final verdict and the key takeaways you need to remember.
Right, so to solve this whole 3 a.m. outage mess, you can't just have one tool. It doesn't work that way. You really need a team of investigators, right? And each one is looking for a totally different kind of clue inside your AWS account.
And here they are. Meet the team. First, we've got Amazon CloudWatch. Think of this one as our performance detective. It's on the scene, checking all the vital signs, looking at the system's health. Then we have AWS CloudTrail. This is our security auditor. Totally different job. This one's combing through all the activity logs, trying to figure out who did what and exactly when they did it.
All right, let's dive deep into our first tool. Let's talk about our performance detective, Amazon CloudWatch. Now, this service is 100% focused on the operational health of your resources. I love this analogy. Think of it like a doctor who's constantly monitoring the pulse of your entire application.
So what does that actually mean? Well, in simple terms, CloudWatch is all about collecting performance data as it's happening, in real time. It's grabbing metrics, pulling in logs, watching events, all to give you this live dashboard that shows you exactly what your apps and your infrastructure are doing, right this second.
And how does it pull this off? It's got a few key components working together. You've got metrics. These are just the raw numbers, things like CPU usage or network traffic. Then you have alarms. They watch those metrics, and if a number crosses a line you've set, bam, it can trigger an action automatically. You also have logs, which is basically a giant central bucket for all your application log files. And finally, events, which let you react to all sorts of changes happening across your whole AWS environment.
Okay, so here's the absolute crucial point, especially for your exam. CloudWatch is all about answering the how questions. How is my system performing right now? How much memory is this thing using? How is the network traffic flowing? Anytime the question is about performance or operational health, your brain should immediately go to CloudWatch.
Okay, time to switch gears. Let's bring in our second investigator, AWS CloudTrail. And you're going to see this builds a completely different side of the story. We're not talking about performance anymore, nope. This is all about accountability.
See, CloudTrail's job is fundamentally different. It's not looking at performance metrics. It's watching actions. It is like a super meticulous scribe, recording pretty much every single API call made inside your AWS account. What you get is this incredibly detailed audit trail, which is absolutely essential for security, for compliance, for any kind of governance.
And what's so cool about this, what's really interesting, is the sheer level of detail it captures. For every single action, you get the who did it, the when it happened, the where it came from, and of course, what they actually did. It is literally a complete forensic trail of everything happening in your account.
And this just perfectly illustrates its whole purpose, right? CloudTrail is built from the ground up to answer the who, what, and when questions. Who was it that terminated that EC2 instance? What changes were just made to that critical IAM policy? When did that user log in last night? If the question is about an action that was taken, CloudTrail is your absolute source of truth.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. This is probably the most important part for your study prep. We're going to put these two services right next to each other, side by side, so you can lock in these differences for exam day. No more confusion. Listen, if you remember only one thing from this entire explainer, make it this. CloudWatch is for monitoring the performance of your resources. CloudTrail is for auditing the activity in your account. That's it. Performance versus activity. That is the fundamental difference, the core distinction you have to know. This table you're looking at, this is your cheat sheet. This is your ultimate study guide. Just look at the rows. Primary purpose, auditing versus monitoring. What data does it collect? API call logs versus performance data. Key use cases, security and compliance versus resource monitoring and alarms. I guarantee you, the exam is going to hit you with questions that test you on these exact differences.
But here's a really key insight. These services aren't enemies. They're not competitors. They're actually partners. To really truly solve our 3 a.m. cloud mystery, you need both of them. You need the performance detective and the security auditor working the same case together.
Let me try and put it another way. CloudTrail tells you what happened, who did what. And then CloudWatch comes in and tells you how your systems responded to that thing. You see? When you put them together, you get the whole story, from the initial action all the way to the final impact. And that is absolutely critical for troubleshooting fast and effectively.
So let's walk through how this actually plays out in the real world. Okay, step 1. An alarm from CloudWatch goes off. Ping! CPU in one of your instances is pegged at 100%. That's the impact, right? Step 2. What do? You immediately jump over to CloudTrail and you look at the logs for that exact time the alarm fired. Step 3. And there it is. You discover it. An unauthorized API call that changed a security group happened just moments before the CPU spike. That was the action. See? Now you've got the full picture. Action and impact, and you can actually fix the problem, not just the symptom.
All right, let's bring it all home. We're going to wrap this up with the final verdict, the absolute must-know points for your exam.
This is it, the big one, the single most important thing to burn into your memory. CloudWatch answers how. How is my system doing? It's all about performance. CloudTrail answers who. Who made that change? It's all about accountability. Just remember that, how versus who.
Okay, let's do a quick rapid-fire review to really hammer this home. You ready? CloudWatch, real-time performance metrics, operational health. CloudTrail, historical record of API calls, security and compliance. CloudWatch, alarms based on how your resources are performing. CloudTrail, an audit trail of what users and services did. CloudWatch asks, how is my application performing? CloudTrail asks, who made a change to my environment? Simple as that. You got this.
And there you have it. That is our complete breakdown of CloudWatch versus CloudTrail. You are now totally equipped to be both that performance detective and that security auditor in your own AWS world. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. Now that you can see everything, what's the very first security question you're going to ask your logs?